Hey, what's up, my soldiers? This is WildBlueYonder. A few weeks ago, I got an email from one of my subscribers, and he was asking me about being in JROTC, and he was a flight commander. He was having a little bit of difficulty getting the respect of some of his peers. He was a flight commander, and he was just asking me a bunch of details about JROTC in general. So I'm going to give you guys a few tips today on how to be successful in JROTC and how to get people's attention and just really excel and be that colonel if you want to do that. Now, believe it or not, it's 11 o'clock right now. Like at night, it's 11 p.m. I just got off work and I'm heading over to the gym now. I was going to do the rest of the video in here, but it's like super echoey, so I'm just going to head over to the chow hall, get some food, and talk about it on the way there, and maybe actually talk about it in the chow hall itself. Towards the end there, you probably saw me using the ropes. I'm not even sure if I was using those correctly. That was my first time using ropes, but I've seen people do them before and they go like this, so that's just what I did, and hopefully that works out for me. So I consider us to be really lucky because that's the USO gym right there. The building right over here next to it, that's our dormitory, and then the chow hall is like right across these trees, so everything is within walking distance. And then we got these like nice like wooden like overpasses, so in the wintertime like the sidewalks are all nice and clear, there's no snow and ice piled up all over the place. At Minot, that's like one of my complaints, is that all the sidewalks and like the parking lots and stuff are like constantly covered with snow, so that's just so annoying. Going to the chow hall, yeah, 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 chow hall, yeah. That's my chow hall song. There's a lot of people in here, so I'm gonna put the camera away. I'll be back in a second though. All right, so I left out of the chow hall. I was supposed to do the rest of the video in the chow hall, but I was walking by with my tripod, and I walked by this guy with his K9, security forces guy. He had his K9 with him, and he brought up my tripod. He's like just one of those guys who are just really loud and he'll just strike up a conversation. So I sat down next to him, we started talking about his K9, about security forces, about all these things, and I'm like, this is a golden opportunity. I got my camera, I have my tripod, let's set this thing up real quick. Let me ask you a few questions, let's do a quick interview or something like that, just so that a lot of my subscribers, who you guys I know you've been asking me a lot of questions about K9 units that I don't really know the answers to because I'm not security forces, and just I wanted to get some answers. But it was kind of like, no, like I don't want to be on camera without going through public affairs first and getting the proper, authorization and all that stuff, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I'm not really talking to you about national secrets, I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your job. But shout out to him, we had a great conversation. He said he was gonna look me up on YouTube, so if you're watching this video, thanks for watching. Now it's like midnight, so I don't want to do the rest of this video in my room because I'm gonna wake up my roommates, and I definitely don't want to do it outside because it's gonna be dark. So I'm just gonna have to do this video another day, but it'll still be in this video, just it'll be another day. Alright, hey guys, so I'm gonna finish up the rest of this video in my room. I was gonna do it outside. It's pretty beautiful outside today, like the sun's all bright, but it's super windy, so the audio probably wouldn't have been as well. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Basically, I'm gonna run down a few steps or like a few tips that I have that'll definitely get you successful in Air Force JROTC and probably other branches of JROTC as well. So in the email, he was asking me, how do I get respect? How do I get people's attention? And like, how do I get people behind me? Basically, it all comes down to you not taking yourself too seriously. You're all the same age. You're all in the same classroom. Yes, you are in charge of them. Yes, you are responsible for them, but you're not their dictator. And you need to keep that in mind. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. This is just high school. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's hard sometimes to see that from a different light, from a different perspective, to like take a step back and realize, okay, I'm in high school, this isn't a big deal, like, okay, these people, they should be following me, but I have to get the respect first. And that's like the second part of it, is don't take yourself too seriously, and you have to earn the respect. You don't demand it. I mean, there is a level of they should respect you just because of your rank, but
that shouldn't be the only reason why they want to follow you. They should want to follow you. They should want you to be their leader. They should want you to give them, orders and commands. That way they can all work together. It all comes down to that, like people respecting you, and show them that you are a good leader. Like, make good judgments, like make good calls. They're not going to follow you just because you're in your position. You have to actually back that up with some, good calls from time to time, and be respectful. For example, if you have to talk to somebody, don't bark at them, don't yell at them, don't be barking orders and losing control. A golden rule that I've always learned through JROTC is if you're yelling, you have lost complete control. So as a leader, if you are ever raising your voice past the speaking level, you have totally lost control over your group. If you can keep your voice here, very stern, strict, direct, be honest, be respectful, people recognize that and they respond better to that than just yelling, because that's dehumanizing, and that's bringing them down to a level where they're going to be like, okay, you don't even see me as a person, you're not giving me any respect, I'm not going to give you any respect. And that's the problem that you'll run into when you start raising your voice to people. So the steps that I have to getting respect is, don't take yourself too seriously, don't yell at people, and make some good calls. If people can see that you're a good person and a good leader, most of the time they'll follow you. There's always going to be people who are thorns in your side. Through my first flight, I had people who were thorns in my side. Through my first flight in my first encampment, there were people who were thorns in my side. Through basic training, through the Air Force, there's always going to be people who are out to get you or out against you, and they just don't want to follow you for whatever reason it might be. Those people are always going to exist throughout your entire life. There's nothing that you can do to get rid of these people. I've tried to figure it out. I can't figure it out. But there's always going to be people who are just, they're just against you, and that's how it is. That's one thing that I learned in the Air Force, is that we're all working together, but there are still going to be disagreements. There's going to be personality conflicts. There's going to be disagreements about how you should do things, this and that. So you just got to work through those issues and work with those people. Although that can be easier said than done, that's something that just happens in life. I realized that my target audience is going to be middle schoolers and high schoolers. So a big key for you learning your leadership style is learning that other people are in development too. People are learning who they are. People are learning, how to deal with people, how to communicate with people, social skills. So not everybody's fully developed in those areas. So you have to sort of realize that you're not dealing with just adults here. You yourself is not an adult. Are not an adult? You yourself are not an adult? Is you yourself isn't an adult? Whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. You're not an adult yet, you're not fully developed yet, so socially, mentally, you're just not there yet. So you're gonna have to work through those issues as well. This includes trying to find different ways to communicate with people. Some people, they just like direct, honest language. Other people, they have to, you gotta have body language involved. Other people, they just like to have different types of communication and different types of ways to work together. Another great tip is to lead by example. Never, ever have I told someone to do something that I am not willing to do myself. And that is key. If you're going to be a leader, you have to set the example. If you're going to tell people to be in uniform, your uniform better be A1. Like, you better be 100%. Because when I was in uniform, I made sure before I left the house that not a speck of dust was on me, my shoes were shined, my belt, my gig line was straight, my ribbons were straight, everything was in order, because I know when I'm going to school, my eyes are out for everybody. Like, I'm looking at everybody's uniform, because when you're in charge, you have to set the example. You can't be going around telling people to tuck their shirts in when you got baggy McStuffins over here, muffin topping up, all this popping out. The easiest way that you can lose respect from people and to lose the value of your commands and your orders and trying to get people to follow you is to not follow those orders by yourself. How do you expect other people to accomplish something if you haven't accomplished it yourself? So you gotta lead from the front, you gotta lead by example, you don't lead from behind. Don't tell people to do something and do the exact opposite. If you're gonna tell people to be in shape, you better be in tip-top shape. If you're gonna tell people to be on time, you better be 30, 45 minutes early to your own meeting. Another great tool that you should learn how to use is dissemination, or learning how to tell other people to do things. Basically, when you reach the top, when you're that lieutenant colonel, that colonel, those top positions, those juggernauts, you can't be calling all the shots. You can't be doing everything. You have to include other people into the mix. So you have to sometimes say, hey, Inspector General, I need you to go around the flights and do inspections on uniforms. Report back to me on what our percentages are. Hey, over here, safety officer, make sure you go around and check all the extension cords. Make sure the lights are fixed up and whatever they have to do. And just go around and tell, okay, squadron commanders, this week we're going to do honor flight. So make sure you go around and tell everybody what we're expecting, and inspect them on, you know, how great their motivation is. We're going to have an honor flight competition this week. You yourself, you can't go around doing all the jobs in JROTC. Trust me, I've tried, because I'm an overachiever. I'm kind of a micromanager sometimes. That's one of my faults. But I really, you got to try to disseminate and just try to spread out the workload, and report backs. You know, when people report back to you or they give you advice or suggestions, you have to have an open ear and you have to listen to those, because those are your people. You are working for them as much as they are working for you. So if you're doing them a disservice by, you know, not listening to them and just saying, okay, I don't care about that, we're doing it my way, people are going to lose respect for you, and then they're not going to want to be willing to fill out your duty. They're going to be more willing to fill out what they feel like is the group's decision, because then they feel like they have a part in it. They're more invested in the mission. So that's another big thing. You have to disseminate, and you have to listen back when people report to you, and you have to really appreciate people. It doesn't have to be all the time, every single time, but from time to time, just say, hey, thanks, I really appreciate that. We're in a bind. We're really trying to get this done. I appreciate it. There's many different ways you can appreciate people. Just verbally, you can appreciate them in front of people. You know, you can bring up a flight commander in front of their own flight and say, hey, this flight commander is doing an amazing job. And you know how much that's going to help out that flight commander? Because now his airmen or her airmen are going to see that, wow, you're really doing a great job, and the commander just recognized you. That's pretty great. You know, in most cases, people are going to recognize that pretty positively. Be firm but fair. So if you see something happening and you don't like it and you think that it should be fixed, you be firm about it. You talk to that person directly, privately, and you fix the problem. A big lesson that I learned in JROTC is that if you have a problem with somebody, don't call them out in front of the whole group. Don't call them out in front of the whole squadron of cadets, because that's going to embarrass them, and that's going to make you look a little bit unprofessional, and everyone else is going to see that, and they're just putting their business out there. So what you really want to do is, if you have a problem with somebody, take them aside, just you and him, you and her, and just say, hey, you were late to this meeting. This is the third meeting in a row that you've been late to. You've been missing a few other meetings. If you're going to continue this trend, you're going to have to be let go. We're going to have to put you somewhere else in the squadron or release you from your job. And I really don't want to do this, but if you can just show up to these meetings on time, then we can make this work. But if not, you're going to have to go. I'm sorry. You don't even have to say I'm sorry. You could just let them know, you know, this is what's up. I'm being firm. I'm giving you a chance to recover and redeem yourself, but if not, we're going to have to let you go. So be firm but fair. There's lots of different ways you can be firm but fair. There's another great tip that has to do with consequences. If you see something happening, it needs to happen, like your consequence needs to happen immediately. It's called the hot stove method. I don't know if many people have heard about this, but if you touch a hot stove, you're going to learn pretty quick that's a bad decision, right? So when somebody makes a bad decision, or someone makes a mistake, or they break a rule or something like that, you need to hop on that pretty quickly and make sure that other people around you know that you don't play. That if you see something, you're going to get that response much quicker. Because if you wait a week or two and you'll say, hey, you know, last month, you know, your shirt was untucked and I didn't really like that, and that's a rule that you broke. Like, you sound weak when you do that. Like, and it's not a weakness thing. It's more just, it's been so long, and so it loses its effect, and they're just like, oh yeah, sorry, my bad, and they're just not as keen to what you're saying. So if you see them right then and there, say, hey, let me talk to you right quick. Come give me a second. Your shirt's really untucked, or it's completely untucked. That needs to be fixed right now. If not, I'm going to report that to your flight commander or whatever, whoever, and you're going to get a failing grade for that, because that looks totally wrong. You need to fix that right now. And then, you know, they can either, it's their choice whether or not they're going to tuck it in or not, because there are people in JROTC who are just buttholes for no reason. So at that point, you might want to figure out, how do I get through to this person? Why doesn't this person care so much about JROTC? Is there any way that I can get to them respectfully and kindly? That's one thing I learned about JROTC, is that you don't have to route things straight up the chain of command to the aerospace science instructor and just say, hey, this person is not in uniform, they're not listening to me, they need to be, you know, given a 0. So sometimes you have to just try to kind of connect to them personally. There's a lot of tips that I can give about JROTC. I did it for 4 years, and I learned so much about leadership, about communicating with others, and I wish I could use that a little bit more in my Air Force career, because I'm just an airman. So, I mean, I don't lead too many people on a daily basis, but I wish I could, because it's really exciting to work with other people who are as motivated as you are. It's just a great feeling to work with your best friends through high school and just, you know, accomplish things and just feel like you are really a part of a great unit. Now here's a few tips about getting promoted, about getting selected for awards, about moving up that chain of command, about trying to get up to that commander spot, which could be a goal for a lot of you. I would definitely suggest that you join the drill team. Now most JROTC units have a drill team, a color guard exhibition team. They have many different teams that you can join. Now joining these teams is exponentially beneficial to you because one, you're going to learn a lot about being a leader. You're going to learn a lot about JROTC. You're going to learn about drill. You're going to be connected with a lot of the top ranking people in your squadron because you're going to start to realize, hey, the commander, the vice commander, the support group commander, the squadron commanders, why are all these commanders in JROTC drill team? Because once you join the drill team, now you're connected with all the senior leadership and they get to see you shine. They get to see you drill. They get to see you sometimes instruct. They get to see you march around and look good. They get to communicate with you. You get to hang out. So now your instructors see you doing all these great things. Okay, we're going to select you. You're going to be an officer now. We're going to send you to officer school. Once you're done with that, we're going to take you back. We're going to put you in a commander position. Maybe a flight commander, maybe a squadron commander, something low level at first. Then you'll move up the rank. Then you can be the drill team commander or the color guard commander or the exhibition commander, arm team commander. There's different commanders for drill team as well. So you can have both regular during school hours commander positions as well as after school hours drill team positions. So once you become commander, now you're really exercising your leadership capabilities and you have a lot of opportunities to show your instructors, to show your senior drill leaders that you can do this. So definitely join drill team. It's going to develop you as a person. It's going to develop you as a young airman. And it's really going to help you out a lot once you join the Air Force. But the line can't be drawn at drill team. You have to step over into the education side of JROTC. You have to do very well on your tests. You have to do very well on your uniform inspections. You have to do very well on anything that might come to you during JROTC, your PT tests. Anything like that, you have to succeed. You have to be the best of the best. That's pretty much what the whole Air Force is centered around, is being the best of the best. And before we end this video, I'm just going to give you guys this quick story. Basically, when I was a freshman, I had zero confidence, zero personality, zero sense of style. I really had no sense of self. And I had no confidence or leadership capabilities or speaking capabilities whatsoever. I kind of was just the quiet guy in the back of the room who wore, you know, basically the same thing every day and just sat there and just kind of like tried to do my best in school. Which I still try to do my best in school, but I picked up a little bit of a fashion sense. But I remember it was one of my first few days of high school, and we were sitting in the JROTC room, and the instructors came in along with the commander, the vice commander, the drill team commander, all the, you know, the chiefs and stuff, cadet chiefs, and they all sit in the front of the room. They were all wearing their uniforms. They had their full ribbon rack. They had cords like draped over their shoulders, their shoes were shined, their pants were ironed and seams were straight down the middle, and they just looked confident. And everyone in the room was looking at them. They were speaking, they sounded confident, they were going around, they were pacing, they had all these like regal, like professional, like I'd never seen it before. Such young people looking so professional, looking so confident, and I wanted to be that. And I was like, I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to be that person someday. And I did it. All help to my instructors, my friends, all the people who worked for me, all the people I've worked for. They all helped me get to that position. And what you have to realize is that you really influence other people once you become the commander. They see you every single day. Everything that you do, every single movement, you might think, okay, nobody's watching me. Nope, there's at least a dozen people watching you at all times because you got all those ribbons, that flashy cord, you're marching around giving orders, you're trying to communicate with people. You are in charge and you are in front of the room and you have to be comfortable being that person. And that, to me, was one of the best points of my life. Some people, they just want to be a great squadron commander. They just want to be a great, you know, flight commander. They just want to have their 3 years so that way they can join the Air Force and be an E3 and maybe pick up some skills along the way. Not everybody has, you know, the greatest goal, the greatest top as their goal. And by the way, you can do JROTC for as long or as little as you want. As long as you do 3 years in Air Force or equivalent JROTC, you can get E3 once you join the Air Force. If you guys have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comment box below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. It's WildBlueYonder. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about JROTC, which stands for Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. This is basically a high school program that you can go through. I didn't know anything about JROTC before I went through it myself, and I'm so glad that my parents convinced me to join, or they kind of influenced me to join, because it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life.